welcome to WildSafari Live in the beautiful Arathusa and Djuma game reserves here in Sabi Sand, South Africa. My name's Hayden Turner.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name's Pieter Pretorius, and it's a lovely afternoon.
I was just about to point on camera. We've got Brian here and VM over here. It is a beautiful afternoon, mate.
Yeah, and actually, you know, literally in the last, as we went live,
Yeah.
it got cooler. It was ridiculously hot.
Oh.
We were sitting at 36, but I think, you know, when they give you the temperatures and then
Yeah.
they give you the real feel was just sort of just under basting.
Yeah.
I think the cloud just moved in, the breeze just picked up, so beautiful conditions for a game drive. And
Absolutely.
looking forward to it.
Feels really nice now. It was cooking, mate, wasn't it? I think 35, 36, about 99, 100 Fahrenheit, which is just crazy.
Yeah, 100 sort of rounds it off nicely.
Yeah, absolutely.
100 Fahrenheit.
We've got some beautiful woodland kingfisher just sounding off here. And that's the sound of summer, that's for sure. We are going to head off. Pete's going to go in that sort of
I'm
direction.
going to check one or two waterholes, then head over to the west a little bit, Arathusa, where we had that beautiful leopard last night in Ghana, the male.
Beautiful.
We had leopard tracks around here this morning. Scott and myself were looking around as we chatted when we saw each other at the fire back at camp. And yeah, just see what it goes. I don't think we're going to get rain. Brian is the real, you know, the rain guy, but he's also thinking that we should be fine. So it should be a good afternoon. I'm going to head off, H.
All right, big
Have
man.
fun.
Take care, mate.
Talk out there and,
Cheers, big man. Have a fun. Good luck.
Some cats.
Yeah, some cats. Let's find some cats. Take care, mate.
Have fun, guys. See you in a bit.
Yeah, right. Cheers, mate. So what we're going to do, folks, is I had a little rest this morning, and Scott did the drive, which is a real great thing. It takes the heat off a little bit. We were working on through this technical phase for like the last month, and it's been pretty hectic, but it's been great. And Scott's been absolutely fantastic on board. I got some intelligence off him this morning about what he sort of saw, and we're going to just peek our nose just around this area and then maybe head over to Buffelshoek Dam as well, which is always a great thing because I'm sure there's going to be hippos there. I just did see a nyala showing some fantastic behaviour as well down here. We're going to go and check that out. But all in all, great to be here. If you've got any questions, please send them to questions@wildearth.tv, or you can tweet us at #SafariLive. Get those off to us. We answer as many as we possibly can, and let's see how we go. So obviously today, with this heat, it's going to be a little bit trickier for the predators early because they're going to be still holed up in the shade, trying to get out of this heat. But for some of the other animals, like some of the antelope and potentially some of the animals going down to waterholes, we might have a little bit of fun there. It'd be great to see some more elephants. We had an incredible elephant day yesterday. I'll never forget. Brian and I had that encounter with that young bull that was so inquisitive, came up and touched the front of the vehicle, which was brilliant. And earlier in the morning yesterday, we had that beautiful moment with those that breeding herd of that female, the matriarch that I met the first few days I was here, and she gave me quite a display of like stay back, and we've built this relationship over the months with her, and now she allows us to sit within 2 meters of the whole herd. So there's some great things happening. Obviously the hippo story, I still don't know where that hippo is, and we're really unsure about his whereabouts at the moment. So we'll really try and find that out, but we might try and see a couple of hippos as well. I think I've probably done enough talking. Let's get on the road. We'll go and see if this nyala is still doing this really interesting behaviour here. He's sorry, I've got to slam this door quite hard. He was doing this interesting behaviour. I think Pete's actually stopped down there to have a look as well. But he was showing this thing. He was doing this thing called soil horning, and to show their dominance and their strength. It's a beautiful little scene, actually. There's lots of baby impala and so on. But I just want to show you this nyala bull, and see if we can see what he's doing. He's rubbing his head into the trees and trying to show his dominance. I'll just peek my nose around under this tree. He may stop what he's doing, but he may not as well. We're going to stay a little bit away, folks, so we can just watch him for a second. And we don't impede on his display. We've got a little impala running through here everywhere. It's beautiful. So it was this nyala bull here. We'll just sit with him for a few moments, and he's just browsing at the moment, so I don't know whether he will carry on. But what he was doing just before we went live to camera was digging his horns into the soil and sort of bucking around like a horse nearly, and showing his strength and his dominance. It's just beautiful watching we've got these little impala dancing around in front of us as well. I don't know what to look at the moment. But he looks like he's gone back to browsing. But Brian might be able to show you just some of these impala youngsters just here on a bit of a wider shot. They are so funny. They're having the greatest time, just chasing each other around, and they do this beautiful little prancing dance where they go onto their front feet and onto their back feet, and you see the juveniles or the sub-adults doing it as well. And last night, Brian and I, as we sort of went to close, we sat and watched these impala, including the sub-adults, doing this incredible sort of 100-metre long, sort of 300 feet worth of that dance or that prance. It's quite spectacular. So all these youngsters that have been born in the last couple of weeks, these impalas are getting their strength up, getting their nourishment from their mothers, and the mothers are really honing in on this fresh flush of grass through this last little bit of rain that we've had. So quite beautiful to watch these little guys. They really do play with each other, chase each other around in this nice open area where the parents or the mothers can keep a close eye on any predators. So it's a really lovely space, and it's just quite a blissful little area. We call it the quarantine area. There's a bit of a backstory on that. I've probably told a fair few times, but when they did bring animals in here to restock Sabi Sands, they would have, or particularly Juma, they would have used this area to quarantine animals before they released them, make sure they didn't have any diseases to give on to the other animals. But it's still referred to as quarantine, and now it's just an open, beautiful green area that a lot of animals congregate on. Some nights we see zebra, wildebeest, nyala, kudu, giraffe, impala, and elephant, all in the same viewing, which is quite a spectacular thing. And one of the reasons why a lot of the hoofed animals come on this area at night is it's nice and open, and they can really detect predators long before, or hopefully long before, they get a little bit of an issue. Right, so I think we probably should just move on. You can watch them all day. It's a fantastic little dance. Nice tracking, Brian. They're hard to keep up with. They're running at speed, that's for sure. Great little guys, and we'll definitely see more of them. All the females have nearly dropped, and it's a beautiful sight to behold. So I'm just going to take a little wide berth around them, not to disturb them, and let them enjoy this really lovely area still. And we can get on our merry way, but it's quite nice to sort of just start off right from the get-go when just introducing ourselves and saying hi to everyone. We've got animals right there, right around us. It's happened a few times recently. I think there's a lovely tweet by someone recently, and please excuse, I don't remember everyone's names, but when I read it I recognise the name. It said, great stuff, we're 20 minutes in and we've got lions, and those things happen, and that's what the great thing about Safari Live is. It's this, you just don't know what's around the next corner. We try our best to get as much intelligence as we can during the day from guides, and we look at tracks and what we call spoor, which I've probably explained a million times to you, but I'll do it again. Spoor is the Afrikaans word for tracks and signs, and it doesn't just mean footprints. It can be hair, it can be dung, it can be any marks that the animals have left on trees or anything like that. So we might refer to that word spoor, S-P-O-O-R, and it's Afrikaans, it's a Dutch word, and it means that all those sort of signs and tracks of animals. So we're just going to peek our nose up around here. We did hear that there was some leopard tracks or spoor around this morning, and Scott did a fine job tracking that right around, and he got really excited, he told me, and then it looked like it went off onto another reserve. But that being said, they can turn around and come back, we just don't know. At this time of the day, as we always say, a little bit unlikely to have that because it's so hot. So we'll just maximise our chances on other things first, and in that last sort of cool hour and a half of the evening before, so sort of around 5:30, 6 o'clock, we'll start to really concentrate on the predators. And just for everyone's notice, we've got the lucky porcupine quill that brought us so much luck with those elephants yesterday. An incredible encounter. There's a lot of ellies around at the moment, and we'll just definitely try and put our feelers out for them. I don't think in my time in Africa, and that's pretty much coming up to 22 years back and forth, working, living, making documentaries, all the things that I've had the great privileges to do. I don't think I've ever had the elephant encounters that I've had like I have had here. And it goes back, it stems onto that conversation about the animals here being really, really conditioned, really habituated. They feel no threat from us, and we benefit from it hugely. It's a really lovely, lovely experience, and hopefully that vibe or that sort of feel that we get transmits to you and on the back of the vehicle with us, and our enthusiasm about it. I was on an absolute high yesterday afternoon when we finished the drive from those elephant encounters yesterday. Something really, really special is about being in their presence and them dictating the moves. It's a very, very different thing when you drive up to something and you've got to try and follow it. When the animals dictate the moves, you know that you're in a happy place because they can choose to move away or not, and then you rig the behaviour. If you see that the behaviour is a little bit untoward, then you obviously move back a little bit and give them some space. But that boy came up to us, that young sort of teenager, came up, put his trunk on the mudguard, on the roo bar on the front there, sorry, the bull bar, and that is a really, really interesting thing because he had the confidence to do that. Really interesting. So we're going to take it nice and easy, nice and slow, just around. The only time we really put on a bit of speed, folks, when I say speed, it's not fast that we're putting anything in danger. It's just that if we hear about a sighting and we want to get to it, we want to try and get there a little bit quicker than what we're driving now. So we've been doing this for long enough that we know that we're not going to take any chances. We would never put any animal's life in danger or anything like that. So we just keep it nice and slow generally, like this, and the more slow you go, the more you see as well. So I've got Brian on board, he's got a fantastic set of eyes on him as well, and he can see that he's got a little bit more elevated than me. It's just great having two sets of eyes on the vehicle as well. But sometimes when I'm turning around like this, Brian will say, wow, lion, leopard, or elephant, or whatever. And that's what it's all about. So I think we'll just trickle our way down here and then cross. We might see Pete on the way as well, which is always a good thing, just to bump into each other again. And the whole idea is we crisscross and try and maximise our time with the vehicles and bring you as much as we possibly can. As everyone knows, there is sometimes a little bit of breakup. We've got an amazing amount of equipment out here to transmit this to you. But when you go out down into a couple of ditches now and again, we might get a little bit of breakup, and I'm sure you understand that. So great to be back in the saddle today. I kind of miss it in the mornings as much as I enjoy a little bit of a lie until about sort of 7:30, 8 o'clock, which was very, very enjoyable this morning. As soon as I'm awake, it's like, right, I've got to find out what's gone on. I've got to watch the last bit of the drive and to get back in the car. But Scott's doing an amazing job. He's a fantastic guide and really, really fun guy to be around, and he's a real wonderful addition to the team. And of course, Mark Weiner coming in after Pete and I leave early next month. Mark's a sensational guy as well. So we're going to just creep our way down here now. That leopard was lovely last night that Pete found. Beautiful to see. Tingana. It's got a little bit of an injury, but I'm sure we'll keep everyone posted on that. So this area here, folks, we talked about this in the beginning of the... It's a good spot to see this, the difference here. We talked about it in the beginning of the month. This was burnt, and it was burnt on a control burn, what we call a control burn or a management burn. just to freshen up the ground and give the sour grass that was there potentially a new flush of grass, particularly for the summer coming. This hasn't been burnt on the left-hand side of the road. It's still got some nice grass there. And it's just got another vehicle arriving, coming past us here, Cedric. So I'll just pull over for him. Might just have a quick chat with Cedric and see what's happened. Hello mate, how are you?
Well, thank you.
Yeah, good mate, good to see you guys. Any news?
We're going to climb off here, take a walk and see if there's nothing in the bottom.
Okay, nice one. Nice one. Okay.
You know.
Great stuff, mate. I'm on. We'll hear of anything, mate.
Perfect.
Thank you.
Let you know.
All right. Cheers, guys. So it's really fantastic to talk to the other guides. They're all amazing people, really dedicated team of guides on all the reserves, around the reserves that we're on, and they've been very, very helpful. Liam and Cedric and Ryan and so many people. Craig, all these different guys just have welcomed us so much. So just back to the control burn quickly. This fresh flush of grass has come through now, and we've really noticed the difference in the green, and there's lots of animals that are really enjoying it. I'm going to head down to Viatella Dam and see what we can find down there. So if we head down to the dam now, we can just have a little check out. There could be ellies, there could be buffs lying in there. Super hot today, as we said, 35, 36-ish, about 99, just on 100 degrees Fahrenheit, which is a tricky day for animals. A lot of the herbivores can cope with the heat much more than the carnivores can, and but then you get to a point where they will start to look for shade. And as we were driving from camp to the reserve this afternoon, you see little herds of impala sitting in the shade of a tree, just all in the shape of the tree shade, and that's a real good indicator that it's pretty hot. Seem to have a little stick underneath my this vehicle, folks, so if you can just hold on a second, I'm just going to pop out and get it out. If you can just bear with me, there's a stick rubbing on the undercarriage and on the road, so bear with me for a second, folks. Just have a quick look. Yeah, I've got you. There we go. It's only something as simple as that. It was stuck up under the brake there and rubbing on the ground, which just vibrates through the whole car. So we don't want that. We want to bring you the sounds as best as we possibly can. I'll just share something with you now that I often think about, and it reminds me when I'm talking to someone like Liam just then, or even sorry, I'm not plugged in there. Apologies. Okay guys, we're going to cross to Pete. I think there's something he's found, so we'll see you just now.
Welcome back this side, and it was such a rare opportunity to really see one of these birds relatively close to us. We were actually talking about it at the opening. There was a woodland kingfisher calling not far from us, and here we've got one sitting 8-10 yards away from us, and we're going to watch him for a bit. Such a beautiful bird. The colors, when it flies just now, you'll see the wings. Well, it's very quick when oh, look at that. Sorry. It's impossible to follow them. Keep in mind, woodland kingfishers are insect eaters, and they catch not fish as the name might suggest, but because they perch and hunt, so they sit on a twig and then they dive down. They're very quick at that, so very hard to follow them. Although he's back. Let's see. Now I'm just going to show you a few things around the water. There's a couple of buffalo. Quite warm, so they obviously enjoying the water. And as we pulled in, there were a few. Sorry, I'm just spotting different things all at once now. There were a few of these masked weavers busy building a nest. They've flown off for now, but if they come back, we'll talk about them. But I do want to try and show you this little bird. Very difficult to see. I'm going to have to go slightly forward and let's try. It's a malachite kingfisher. Sorry, not malachite kingfisher, pygmy kingfisher. Just up there. Tiny little guy there. Yeah. And very difficult to see. We were very fortunate about a week ago or so. We had a beautiful sighting of one. A tiny little kingfisher. I mean, literally, if the woodland kingfisher is about that size, the pygmy kingfisher is about that big. So a tiny little guy. Just going to move around slightly. Let's have another look at these buffalo. There's all these small things to look at. It's difficult to decide what to see and how we can see it. These are the weaver's nests we were talking about. Amazing. I mean, you get different kinds of weavers. These are masked weavers. You get quite a few different types, and they all build slightly different nests, slightly different shapes. But having watched these many times before, it is amazing how they build that from just little grass stems. And they build them strong enough to never fall off from that branch, no matter what the weather conditions. Perfectly dry inside. A lot of interesting stories around weavers and their behavior, but we'll try and talk more about that at some stage when we actually see them. This is actually a great tree for birding. Over the years I've sat here many times because it's right next to the water. Not only the weaver's nest in it, but also a lot of birds come and sit there when they're getting ready for a little drink at the water or a swim. Nice big buffalo. So we had a red-billed oxpecker on him. Just enjoying a bit of bird life at the moment, but it flew off. Hey, mister. Giving us that typical bull buffalo look. Sort of like, what you doing here? Great characters, buffalo. They, even within the herd, when you get to see the herds often and you watch them a lot, you get to see quickly who's the sort of dominant bulls, and you get these, you know, certain cows that lead the herd, like a pathfinder almost. Really fascinating animals. These guys, the big males, they tend to hang around in little groups like this, 3 in this case. Anything from 3 bulls up to about, well, from 2 bulls up to 10, 15 bulls typically in these bachelor herds. And you will often, on hot days like today, very often you'll find them around the waterholes, the mud wallows, the places where you can keep cool. So we'll try and do this for a few minutes more. Always tricky with birds because there's like with all wildlife really, there is an element of luck to it. And with birds you have to be lucky enough to see them because they're tiny, so you have to see them close enough. But I see there's quite a few birds coming past for a drink, and I just saw those pygmy kingfishers again. So let's just sit here for a minute or two. You can look at those geese along, they're not likely to leave. They can be quite sort of territorial almost over their water. Male and female Egyptian goose, and they, interestingly enough, don't normally nest at the water, so they will live around the water. They will even have a territory around the water, but they will nest some distance off, 1, 2, 3, 400 yards, depending on where they can find the right nest. And they like to nest on top of, we get a bird here called a hammerkop, which make these massive stick nests with sort of like chambers inside it, and they often nest on top of that, or old unused eagle's nests or vulture's nests. So basically a stick platform. And then when the goslings are hatched, they fall, and you might have seen this in videos before on documentaries. It's amazing how they just fall out of the tree to the ground, and then they all walk down to the dam, and then around the waterhole is where they will grow up. Let's try and see this. It might be slightly far away. You see the kingfish on the other side now. He's sitting up in, where are we now? Just in that tree there. And every now and again, you just saw the splash there. You might have to give it a bit of room down towards the water. It's coming down for a bath, so it's not going into the water. It's coming down for a quick sort of plunge, grabs a bit of water and then goes back to the tree, although I've lost it now. Don't see it at all. Where's it gone? That is always a challenge with birding. Just to be able to see them because they're so quick. Oh, here's the weaver. Great, he's just back. Sorry, Liam, we've got you playing musical birds. You can stick with this weaver a little bit. He just came back with a little grass blade, obviously building a nest here closer to us. That's the nest there just to the right of him that he's busy building, I think. Oh, no, it's another one to the left. Well, we're going to keep our eyes on this because he's going to fly off now and go get some new grass blades again. Now, we did have some rain about a week ago or in the last week or so, so there is lots of green grass around, but he needs to find really sort of fresh grass, if you know what I mean. It can't be too shriveled up yet because it needs to be really pliable so you can weave it into that nest. So we'll see if he comes back. We'll give it 1 or 2 more minutes, see what other birds are around, and yeah, basically just spend a few minutes around the waterhole. I know HT is looking around for other things. Let's see what else is here. There's a dove, but that's a bit far away. They could try and see, but that's maybe a bit difficult, but let's see. If you look right in front of the water here, and again, like birds, they come and go all the time, so they're very, very difficult, but there's a few terrapins just poking their noses out. There's a little, I mean, it just looks like a little floating dot until it disappears, but those are terrapins or freshwater turtles. And they're sort of the size of, the little guys will sort of fit onto your hand, and the big ones will be the size of the biggest ones about the size of a medium to a smaller size dinner plate. But in the water, typically that's all you see, just the little tip of the nose poking out. They often around hippos, buffalo, those kind of things that wallow in the water. They will often feed off those animals and clean them, get the ticks and things off them. Sort of like oxpeckers do, just in the water. Well, I like the way the afternoon is developing. Just listening to the radio there's a couple of doves having some water. The turtle doves. Not to preempt anything too much, but I wouldn't go too far away from where you are at the moment. Keep in mind, we're in Africa and there's big things around. About time for that weaver bird to come back. He's traveling quite far to find these building materials. Well, I think we can move along momentarily. Hopefully the weaver comes back for one more visit, just to see what he did. Interesting also, you'll see he's building lots of different nests. If you look at the tree, Well, we're just having a look at the tree here, and you can see there's lots of little dots up there. Those are all nests, most likely from more than one male. I mean, you can find, let's have a quick count, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, about 10 nests or so. So that might be 2 different males. It could even be 1. I mean, it depends on the male's energy levels and experience with building. They do get better at it after a few years. But you will find one male will build 1 nest, and then if he gets a female to be in the nest, then he'll build another one, and so on. So you could have multiple females in multiple nests breeding on many eggs. And just quite interesting to know that. And there's a story about them breaking the nest down because the females don't like it, and that's just a story really. What's important with these nests is when they're new, with that green grass, which is difficult to see today because of the light, they use that bright green grass as a backdrop to display again. So they've got a bright yellow body, bright green behind them, and that's a good way to show the girls, listen, look at me, I'm in great condition, I've built you a beautiful home, you know, let's have eggs together. Alright, hello Joel. The buffalo, we'll probably see them as we drive off now. They've slowly headed off in that direction. We're going to take that same road, so perhaps we'll see them. But Joel's just asking, good question, because a lot of people think that these are water buffalo. These are the African buffalo. Water buffalo, well, the first big difference would be just the you know, where you find them. African buffalo obviously down here, and water buffalo typically is your Asian buffalo. That's what people normally refer to as water buffalo. Joel, the difference... interesting question. I mean, other than the geography of it, Cape buffalo in terms of temperament can be a little bit more, how shall I put it, like sticky characters. They can be quite tough. They will not only take on lions, but even with people they can be a little bit tricky sometimes. Visually quite similar in color. The water buffalo don't tend to get those heavy bosses. In other words, with the Cape buffalo, especially with the bulls, you get those really heavy front bosses. If you see these guys just now, they've just walked off. We'll show you again. With a water buffalo, you don't get those really thick and heavy bosses in the front. So the horns are slightly flatter in the front, and with water buffalo tend to be slightly more sort of splayed out, not quite as sort of aggressive looking, if you want, with the horns. But I think with that, the water has been great. A bit of bird life, always nice to sit at a water hole. We're going to move on slowly, try and see those buffalo and show you again what we're talking about, Joel. And also, as I was saying just now, don't want to preempt it too much because you can never guarantee anything, but do keep in mind, we are in Africa. We are around the corner from Big Cat Week. Very excited about that starting tomorrow. And I have a feeling, well, let's put it this way, I wouldn't go too far from the safari live this afternoon. Stick around, maybe let a few of your friends know, because the afternoon is going to get interesting. I'll just leave it at that. HT will tell you about it in a bit. What? I think we have a couple of minutes, and I know VM has spotted this before and I've spotted it, and this will tie in nicely with your question, Joel. Just before we might have to go to the other vehicle, I'm going to show you exactly what we're talking about when we talk about the bosses of a buffalo. Second, there we go. Oh, this is actually a beautiful set. In fact, I think Yuri Moorman, the owner of Jima, would love to see these. Right in front there. Okay, I'm just going to jump off the vehicle quickly, VM. Just let me know if there's anything on the radio. Okay, sorry, I didn't actually plan this, so let me just make sure we've got this in a manageable condition. Guys, these are the bosses. That's what we talk. Whenever we look at the buffalo and we talk about the bosses, We're referring to these big shields on the front. Now this is obviously a buffalo, obviously a buffalo, so this is heavier than one might think. Killed by lions. Texan and them will probably remember, they would have seen this sighting, but I'm guessing 6 months, 8 months ago. There's still a bit of ant activity. If you look very closely, you'll see there's a few ants walking around, but in general it's been cleaned, and you can see this very heavy bone aspect to the horns. So the difference between antlers and horns, we often talk about that, is that horns are part of the skull. So from the skull to the horn growth, which goes all the way along here, it's one piece of bone. This is quite porous. There you can see it's breaking up a little bit. So almost like a honeycomb structure in here, which is great for taking big knocks. So if these buffalo are fighting, then this will protect the brain from literally concussion. I mean, I've seen buffalo fight. It's incredible when they tackle each other, and they can really, you know, hit each other hard with the horns and take those knocks. Then of course the span. This is quite a nice set. Oh, there's a couple of beetles coming out. Big curves here. This is a bull buffalo. The females don't get the heavy bosses, and this would obviously be used for, again, fighting, hooking into each other's horns and horn wrestling, and also for defense. They can chase lions and things off like that. So I just remembered about this. This is an awesome set of horns. A beautiful big bull. He would have been in his prime, probably 10, 12 years old, something like that. No easy feat for the lions taking this down. It's not an easy job. I'm going to leave it here. I think this would be fun to talk about somewhere in the next week. But just look at that. That's the size of the horns. So, Jill, in the case of water buffalo, had we been in Asia, those bosses would be much thinner, not nearly as heavy, not nearly as heavily shielded, both from the skull or from the horn sheath or the keratin layer, which is the actual horn over it. Alright, we'll make a quick turn towards Twin Dams and then see from there. Alright, as I said, excuse me, just a short drive down towards Twin Dams, maybe see some buffalo there. Since we're talking about buffalo quite a bit so far, and who knows what else. You know, there's something on the cards for somewhere not too long from now. Can see him, so it's a little bit in the sticks there. I think we're going to get a little window through there. Beautiful big kudu bull. Yesterday we saw one that had extraordinarily wide horns. He really had spectacularly wide horns. This one's got very narrow horns. Now again, you get these different stories about people saying, yeah, you get the mountain kudus and the plains kudus, and the mountain ones have got the narrow horns and the plains ones the wide horns. But in any population you will find variations of horns, the same as you find with people. You get people with red hair and blonde hair, and small noses and big noses. You get variations within the animal population like that as well. In fact, even more so. Most animal populations are genetically more varied than we are. We as people are actually part of quite a small genetic pool, believe it or not, all 7 billion of us. Sorry for that noise, but there was a bit of buffalo skull on the microphone. Baboon tracks, warthog tracks. Lots of things today. We'd be visiting the waterholes or standing in the road. You never know, one might be standing in the road when you're driving along, minding your own business. It's a young, I didn't actually see, I thought female, but then I thought male. We'll see just now. Not likely to be on his own or her own. Giraffe that age, I mean, it's like a young adult if you want, probably 8 years, 6 years old or something like that. They normally are in small groups, so not likely to be on his or her own. No, definitely. Here's a few more. 1, 2, 3, little baby there. Now, there's lots of things I know about giraffe, but one thing I know for a fact is that I think everyone loves giraffe. They are always great to see, just such amazing design. And I know people are always happy on safari to see a giraffe. We'll watch these guys for a little bit, talk about them a bit, see what they do. Although I think for now they're mainly just feeding, getting enough leaves. Oh, great to find these giraffe. This one just walking down the road. Oh, there's the... I was going to go closer. Let's see if they come out. No, they're not coming out. Let's go a bit forward. Found this giraffe on the road. It looks like there's at least 4 of them. A couple of impala running through the back. So there's a little gathering of animals. Let's just have a look. As I was saying just now, I know that everyone loves giraffe. It's one of those animals people just like seeing giraffe. It makes people happy. Always great. They're just such amazing designs, if you want, and the patterns and everything. But I know one thing that people like even more than seeing giraffe is seeing baby giraffe. Just because, sorry, I'm just thinking back to this amazing clip I saw once with Graham about opulence, which had a giraffe in it. They are just beautiful. Here's the youngster. We saw this one about a week ago on quarantine. We were following them around there with the big male that was following the female. Oh, impala running through as well. Where are you going? I think just feeling energetic, happy that it's summer. Okay, well, let's get next to these giraffe. They're not concerned by us, they are just moving along. Interesting also that it's not always the case, but often giraffe will very often feed into the wind, and I can feel that clearly now. The way they're moving and the way the breeze is coming, it allows for a few things. One, if there are lions or something up ahead, predators, they've got a better chance of smelling them. But also, trees communicate to each other. I don't know how many of you knew about this, but trees can communicate with each other with, it's not hormones, but almost like that, like a pheromone. And the pheromones just drift downwind. So if this tree is busy getting eaten, especially with your acacias, you get that a lot. Let's just have a look here. Okay, I'm going to go slightly past, and we can wait for them to come past us again. So this female is busy browsing. She's busy eating leaves at the moment from a leadwood tree, but they eat a lot of acacia leaves. While she's eating, that tree will do a few things. It'll start producing extra tannins. This is not something that happens in seconds. In fact, it's something that can build up over even days. So it builds up more tannins in the leaves, which will eventually make them taste more bitter. But also, it's communicating with these pheromones downwind to the next trees, saying that we're being browsed heavily. And this, obviously, the heavier the browsing, the heavier the everything that ripples from it. And those trees can start producing tannins as well. That's actually something that Yuri Moorman, the owner of Juma, knows a lot about. He's a very interesting man and has done lots of studies on lots of things, and that's one of the things he spent time on years ago. I remember he told me about it. I wish I can remember half of it. But fascinating how plants can also communicate to some extent or another. Just so beautiful. Look at that little guy. Having a look at us. Amazing patterns. You get a few different types of giraffe. This is the southern giraffe. As the name suggests, you find them in southern Africa. Although sometimes referred to also as the Maasai giraffe. You do find this species all the way up towards East Africa. And you could also, if you wanted to call it the common giraffe, maybe. It's the most widespread of the giraffe species. Just went a bit through the twigs here now, but that's what giraffes like to eat. Look at how dexterous those lips are, really folding around and pulling the leaves off, as well as giving VM a little bit of a chase, moving up and down there. You get other species of giraffe. The other one that's really spectacular to see, which you get only in East Africa, is the reticulated giraffe, and they look literally like they've been stencil drawn. Their marks are incredibly precise. Also slightly more like a brick red color almost to them. And then the Rothschild's giraffe, which looks almost like they've got these starry patterns on them. Not many left of them, unfortunately. They, last time I checked, they were endangered or on the vulnerable list. Again, more East Africa way. This is the southern giraffe. You get in quite a variation of colors. You get them from quite light brown to very, very dark as well. Let's follow them a little bit more. They are going the same way as we are going. They're literally feeding either side of the track we're on. You can see the young one just following its mum. It's not eating much yet, you might notice. Stopping now and again, having a little bite here, a little bite there. At this stage it will still be mainly reliant on milk. But as they get older, more and more they will start browsing as well. Just one last thing on the tannins that I was talking about the trees that start producing tannins. It's not something that happens just like this, but if out in really wild areas, the bigger the areas, like for instance, where we are, Sabi Sands, ecologically it's part of a massive area, over 2 million hectares. That's 6 million acres. It's not likely to recur in this type of area, but in areas where there's heavy browsing, so if you have massive population explosions and there's not enough leaf cover to support them, so let's say a huge amount of kudu and giraffe, then and they have to browse heavily all the time, it can get to the point where the trees will start producing enough tannin to cause tannin poisoning. I know of 2 occasions over the last many years of game farms where there were too many giraffe, and then the giraffe start getting sick from tannin poisoning because they're ruminants. So the trees can literally defend themselves, which is quite amazing if you think about it like that. That's interesting. Guys, do you know what's happening here? I can't say this for a fact, but definitely the behavior looks like it. Or at least that interest from a male when we saw her about a week ago. So obviously with her calf now a few months old, she could be going into estrus again, which means there could be another calf on the way a little bit over a year from now. And that behavior looked like she was chasing the other giraffe off the young one. And it might be that that's her calf from before. So that one would be about 2.5 years or something like that old, plus minus. That was just interesting. It's typically females don't really push other ones around. Giraffe are actually quite strange animals that we don't even know that much about. And now we spoke with HT, we were talking a while back, and he also said giraffes are a little bit up in the clouds. Up in the clouds, pun intended maybe, but they have a very, very loose social structure, so it's not typical for them to chase other ones away, but this one certainly seems to be putting pressure on that youngster to move away. There again, you can see just sort of saying, hey, bit of space here, buddy. Always looking around. Giraffe have got great eyesight. Often be the first ones to spot predators, especially lion. That's the only predator big enough to hunt giraffe. I've been, well, lucky enough, I guess, to see a few giraffe hunts with lion. It's spectacular to see because giraffe are very big. And lions have to leap up about 3 times their own body height just to get onto the giraffe. I think we're going to leave this giraffe and move along slowly to Twin Dams, go have a look there, and then I'm just keeping an ear on the radio to see what's happening there. There's a surprise coming still, remember? Oh, that was nice. Going up to his mum. Okay, Twin Dams, here we come. Baby warthogs! Guys, we must try and see this. They are the cutest things in the world, but they are very short and this small. They were tiny. They're like, there they go, there they go. Yeah, I'm going to try and get them on this little footpath. Maybe we can see the view from behind as they run away. No, we're not going to see them. Oh, that's a shame. No, they're going to keep running. Let's see, there's a small window there perhaps. No. Oh, what a pity. Guys, what? Did you see them quickly? I think VM just got a glimpse of them as well.
Just their tails.
Just the tails. A baby warthog just, they look little rats with long legs and little tails sticking out. They were about probably that big, the bodies. So if imagine a body that big, a little warthog body with little legs and a tail. We'll try again. Gotta love summer, all the wildlife, all the new life that's around. See some nice skies just looking around here, sort of beyond Gari Mania. This is one of the main This is one of the main roads, as the name suggests. We get quite a few of the lodges in the area, and we're looking at the moment sort of what is it? East, southeast. See what these guys are doing, if they're going to fly away. No, they're going to fly away. Fork-tailed drongos. One of many things we've discovered we have in common. Aiden and myself have become quite good friends in the last few weeks. Very good friends, actually. Similar about the big things in life, which is really cool. But there's a few small things like drongos. Both things are the most awesome birds out there. Such cool little birds. And I know he's been talking about showing you drongos often. Okay, guys, I'm not going to say too much. Enjoy your drive with Hayden. There's some nice surprises on the way. See you a bit later.
So folks, we've got some intelligence that we're on our way to see something very special. And it's taken me a little bit of time to figure out where this was. A little bit of a break-up on the radio signal, and trying to get to this location. Working with the other guides is an absolutely imperative part of success here, and the guides have been amazing. So we're just going to peek our nose in here. Okay, folks, we've found the spot, I think. It's taken me about 15 minutes to find these guys, but most important thing, as I said, is doing a little bit of intelligence on the Game Drive channel and talking to the other guides, but all at the same time talking about roads that you've got to get familiar with, and we have over the last month, particularly myself. Pete's known these roads for a lot longer than I have, and we've got something quite special to show you. So let's go in and have a look. I'm not going to give too much away. We're going to approach really slowly. Thanks so much, mate. Sorry, but I was having a bit of break up on comms there with you, and then no worries. Thanks so much, guys. Thanks. So it's just a little bit about manoeuvring your vehicle through this bush, but once we get there, you'll see why it's so important. A few bumps through here, folks. Where we go now is anyone's guess. I think. Yeah, okay, we'll get a little spot just in there. Right. How's that? We'll move on in a little bit closer in a second. We have lion. So that's why we work so hard to get into these places, and we talk so much on the radios, and we really do work incredibly hard to bring this to you. You can see they're feeling the heat. We think this is the Birmingham boys. This is the pride that I was with a couple of mornings ago, or the males we were with a couple of mornings ago. Sorry, to rephrase that, because it's 5 boys. There's 3 of them here that we can see, and I don't know if there's any others on the other side of this termite mound right next to me, but how fantastic. Or the males we were with a couple of mornings ago, sorry, to rephrase that, because it's 5 boys. There's 3 of them here that we can see, and I don't know if there's any others on the other side of this termite mound right next to me, but how fantastic. They are really feeling the heat, as are we, but I can't go lying down on the grass at the moment out there. They're organising and just digesting. I spent So if you can just bear with me, I'll just wait until Brian sort of just watches a couple more of these lovely shots through this vegetation, and then I'll just try and look for a new position. So the whole idea is, once you get to a location like this, and you get to, you know, someone's brought you in here, so you're, as another vehicle coming in on a position here, just to give you a little bit of background, you pay respect to whoever's controlling the location, which I think is Ephraim, a fantastic, super guide, and he's brought us in with Liam, who we just passed, and Liam's just done a handover to us. Ephraim's just repositioning his vehicle now, and basically sharing this beautiful encounter. And wow, it took a while. It took a while for us to locate these guys, because we're about 200 metres off the road in the vegetation. But hats off to Liam for finding this with his tracker and following the spoor and getting in here. Okay, thanks Ephraim. Okay, so Ephraim's now moved, so we're going to take up that position, folks. So just bear with me, there'll be a little bit of repositioning here, and I'm going to get you guys into a better space. Just a little bit of manoeuvring here, guys, so just bear with me. Watch these trees. Can you be my eyes there, Brian, please, mate? Let me just go around there. One of the benefits, folks, of having these short wheelbase vehicles that we're driving in, we can get into some really tight little corners, and it's a beautiful thing. I've just got to watch this. There's either an aardvark hole or something here, so I'm just going to watch this hole. Okay. A bit of negotiation. And we'll get ourselves into a lovely spot here that we can just sit with these cats for a while. Be nice and gentle. And they're completely relaxed, so there's 4 of them here at the moment. We'll just get ourselves into a lovely spot here. So just a few more little, talk about 150 point turns, this is what we do. And there we have it. And that is our spot. Beautiful light on these animals. Absolutely superb. 4 young males, and there is actually 6 in this group of males, but sometimes there's a couple of transient individuals that leave and come back. Yesterday morning, I think it was, we saw 5 of them, and now there's only 4 of them, so one could be just off doing his own thing, or having a little sleep somewhere else. We just don't know, but we'd probably imagine that he'd be here if he was around. But the 4 of them, and these are the Birmingham Pride. I like to call them the Birmingham Boys. How lucky is this? Ah, this is what it's all about. Just to give you a little bit of a scene set, we're about 8 metres, about 25 feet away from them. They're completely relaxed, and we're just going to sit for a bit and enjoy these beautiful creatures. panting away. Trying to keep cool. I love it when they look at you like that. So flat cats, but it's always better to be with a flat. They're really, really hot. It's definitely around that 35 degrees still, folks. It's 35 degrees C, about 99 Fahrenheit. And that's not the most conducive temperature for our feline friends here. So we are sitting with an absolutely beautiful group of young male lions. They're probably about 2.5-ish years old. They've got such a lot of growing to do, particularly their mane. That mane will develop into this incredibly beautiful, very pronounced and showy display of hair all the way around their head, all the way across their shoulders, only leaving the short hair just on the front of their face. There's something called sexual dimorphism in animals, and it basically means a really obvious difference between the male and the female. And lion are a really great example of that, probably more so than all the other cats. Obviously you can tell the difference between a male and a female leopard. The male's a little bit bigger and there's certain things that you can notice, but with lion there's an absolute sexual dimorphism, and that is the big difference in size and shape. And that has allowed them to really monopolize a group of females. It's a really great thing to have that size and that power, and they can really take over a group of pride. But at the same time, it's always that thing to keep in the back of your mind. That mane is actually can be to their detriment in a way. It does do an incredible job, and all the things you've read in books about what the mane does. The mane is a showy sort of display of power and good looks, I suppose you could say, in a human's world. But it also protects that neck when they do have these very, very serious altercations with each other over dominancy. But the other thing that it's done, and it's really obvious when you think about it, it limits their ability to hunt without being really conspicuous. So that is why the females are much more successful hunters. They can get into a really beautiful low stalk where these males have got this big, bulky, buffy mane that doesn't help them in hunting. I've got a nice question from Teresa in Virginia. And Teresa, really nice question actually. When do male lions become dominant? They leave the pride around the time that we're probably seeing now, 2.5 years to 3 years. But normally about 2.5 they'll be leaving the pride, and that's because they, the male in the pride will probably feel a little bit threatened by them. So there could be a few scuffles pushing them out. Hence why you might see some scars or marks on some of these young boys now and again. But then they try to push their weight around a little bit, sort of around 4-ish, sort of 4 years, and they'll have a couple of goes at it. These ones probably would be more successful at a younger age because of their coalition or their power being 4 of them. But if it's an individual that's by himself, it's normally around sort of 5, 6, 7 years more likely. Around the sort of 7-year mark is where they'll have great success, because they'll be much stronger, they'll have learnt a lot more, they will sort of know how things work. So depending on the sort of numbers that they're in, if it's a coalition, which is meaning a group of adult males, or if it's an individual, it will vary slightly. But generally speaking, roughly trying around 4-ish, and then probably more like having success around sort of 6, 7, and that's what they'll do. But these boys here probably got a fair bit of growing to do, and before they start to try and take on another pride. And what then will happen is it'll be either a very, very easy or quick takeover if it's a single male pride that they're taking over, because 4 against 1, some of the females might assist that male, but more than likely the males normally have a pretty serious altercation. 4 on 1, well, it doesn't take a lot to think who would win that. Great question, Teresa, thank you. So Aubrey's, one of the other guides, is leaving now, so that's a vehicle you can hear in the background. Sharon on Twitter was just giving us a question, and Sharon, it's basically the reason why you're asking why their manes are underdeveloped. It's because of their age. Their manes actually don't start to really sort of bulk up until about the 3rd year, and the maximum sort of development's around 5 or 6 years. So they're growing their hair just like a teenager, I suppose, going through getting facial hair and then developing his beard as he gets a bit older. But that's basically why it is. They're just about 2.5 years old, 3 years old now, and they'll get a fantastic mane by the time they're about 5 plus. Some very, very sleepy lions there, folks. And again, I just want to, I say it all the time, but I'll say it again, just how comfortable they are with our presence. They are so undisturbed by us. So send us a couple of tweets, folks, if you'd like to stay here, and that's exactly what we would do with people on safari with us. We'd ask them if they'd like to stay or they'd like to move on. Send us a couple of tweets or email on these guys for a little bit longer. Exactly what we would do with people on safari with us. We'd ask them if they'd like to stay or they'd like to move on. Send us a couple of tweets or email on these guys for a little bit longer. Okay, I'm just going to move the vehicle a little tiny bit further forward. Just try and get a little bit closer. Just bear with me, folks. They're absolutely fine. I might just roll back a bit. I'm just trying to maneuver the vehicle perfectly for Brian to get a nice shot, and as I'm trying to do it, I'm trying to get a little bit closer. Okay. We'll just stop here for a little bit, folks, and get another angle. The sun is absolutely beating down here as well, just to let you know we haven't had a massive change in temperature. But there's a little bit of a breeze picking up, which is quite nice. Just mind a bit of vegetation. If you go down, Brian, on that animal, just the one that you're on there, just slow down. His brother's got his paw over him there. His brother's got his paw on his back. These are more than likely 99% brothers from the same litter of cubs, and it's quite beautiful to see these boys. Same litter of cubs, and it's quite beautiful to see these boys. Looking behind me to watch the weather to make sure there's no thunderstorm brewing. It does look a little bit ominous a long way off, but I think we'll be okay. Just getting my camera out, folks, so sorry about the sort of rustling around, but just want to take a couple of pictures. One of the interesting things, folks, I think I always find amazing, because you look at if the food is plentiful, they can lie around for those sort of 20 hours a day up to sometimes, but if there's not enough food around, and that could be for lots and lots of reasons, it could be a drought or something like that, or they just live in an area where there's not a lot of food, they'll have to do a lot more hunting. So it really does depend on how much food there is around, and where we are right now, Reagan, in the Juma Game Reserve, there's a lot of animals around that the lions eat, loads and loads of them, and they really won't have to spend as much energy hunting their food because there's plentiful supply around here. But super question, Reagan, and thank you so much for watching, matey. Really, really great to have you on board. just got a little bit of a wind blowing up here at the moment, and yeah, it's definitely picked up. Whoa, that was quick. So maybe we are going to get some rain, folks. I'm not sure. All these lines have just picked up their heads. There's incredible gust that's just come through. Lots and lots of dust as well. So apologies about that. You can see it on the lines, little young manes that have come through and all the vegetation. It's certainly picked up. Let's see things that have come through and all the vegetation. It's certainly picked up. Let's see. Just taking a few images, folks. Such beautiful backlight in this position we're in. The animals look absolutely magnificent. That wind just gusted up there for a second. It could mean we have something on the way, but I'm just looking out behind us and keeping an eye on that, as I said. It takes a long time, folks, to habituate animals like this and get them used to vehicles and used to humans, and let them know that we're not a threat to them. As long as we stay in the vehicle and don't break the shape of the vehicle. One of the things that the guides always tell your guests is to not stand up in the vehicle. Just keep the shape of the vehicle. Really, really important stuff. And if you do that, you've got a really successful encounter. But it does take a fair bit of time, and our whole premise behind this is just to be in their encounter. But it does take a fair bit of time, and our whole premise behind this is just to be in their presence. Please, mate. Welcome, buddy. So we're still going to sit with these guys for a little bit longer. We've got this individual, he's a little bit behind a tree at the moment, but I might roll down for you, Brian. Would you like that, mate? Let me just move down a little bit for Brian, and I'll show you this boy here. See something quite nice. He's just grooming or cleaning himself, and it's quite nice to see him just doing that. He's a beautiful animal, beautiful individual. He's grooming himself pretty much like you'd see a cat, pretty much like your own domestic cat would groom himself, and it's really important that you know that there's definitely a relationship with this whole family, cats, but Lion being the only true social cat. It's just a beautiful thing to watch. You still see those similarities. For any of you cat owners out there, you'll definitely see similarities when they do that, licking their paw and cleaning their face. Chris on Twitter wants to know how important it is for grooming on lions and how important it is to them. Well, what we can gather, Chris, is that just like all the cats, they like to keep themselves very, very clean. There's not many cats that really do like water. You've got a couple of species. You've got, jaguars in South America are great swimmers and they don't mind the water. You've got a fishing cat in Asia as well. Oh, here we go. We've got some action here, folks, but really, really important for them, and just a beautiful, beautiful thing to watch. The similarities between your domestic cat, and us. They like to keep themselves clean. That's definitely sure. Move a little bit, so we'll definitely see what's going on here. One's just gotten up, but it could be just that he wants to go and potentially have a bit of a break. One of the interesting things about lions, folks, I have to say, it's quite special. If they need to have a little bit of a use the bathroom, so to speak, they will move away from their sleeping area and do that. And I think that's what that individual's just gone to do, because the others have just laid here, and then he'll probably come back and lay down with them. But then the other night we saw them do this, and they will then come back and do a fantastic greeting with each other. These brothers have got a very tight bond, so a really great greeting with each other. Rub their faces together and fall on each other, and just this beautiful, beautiful behaviour. I'm not sure if he's done that. Yeah, I think he has. He's coming back now, I think. Or is he moving on? Just to the right. It's perfect there, Brian. That's exactly it. Just coming around the back of that log. And I think he's going to come back to the boys. So if he does this, really beautiful to watch, folks. This whole come back, meet and greet, or he may just lay down, I'm not sure. It's definitely cooled down a lot. There's a lovely breeze blowing at the moment. He's just decided to lay down a little bit further across. You can just see him behind that vegetation there. So he's just chosen a different spot. There's a lovely breeze blowing out there. The sun's gone behind the clouds. I think we're going to be okay on the weather front. I'm I'm having a bit of a guess here. I can't see the whole horizon from where I am, but the wind definitely has picked up. I'm pretty sure we will have rain at some point tonight as I'm looking around, but it's just not allowed to start raining before 7 o'clock. Gorgeous skies, another fantastic afternoon in Africa, and you're watching it live here from the Djuma Game Reserve in Sabi Sand, South Africa, on Safari Live. And this is what it's all about, being in the presence of these incredible creatures, all of us together, and sharing this beautiful experience. So we had a question from Malexander on Twitter. Hi there, thanks very much for being with us and welcome aboard. Purring when they're being really sort of social. There's a very, very lovely sort of sound that you can hear when they're either being intimate with their cubs or with each other, or they're greeting each other. You will hear a slight purring sound, but it's not like a constant purr, as if you would be hearing it with your domestic cat lying on you purring. It's just sort of done when they do greet each other, or there's a bit of social interaction happening with their cubs or other family members. It's really a sound of contentment, you know, and the cubs also do it sometimes when they're nursing, which is quite a beautiful thing to hear. But the most incredible vocal, and that vocalization is something that just is really, truly hair-raising when you're close to it, and even when you hear it from a distance. Sometimes we're sitting in camp at night and we're sitting around the fire and we'll hear it around in the distance. We'll hear this beautiful, beautiful roar off in the distance, you know. That was a pretty bad impression from me, but it's sort of that sound. And tell you what, you really do know that you're in Africa when you hear that. There's nothing more beautiful than hearing a lion roar off in the distance when you're sitting around a fire or going to sleep in Africa. It's a beautiful thing. So this is what lions do. This is what lions do a lot of the day, and you know, the predators don't deal with the heat as well as the the hoofed animals or most of the herbivores, and they rest up as much as they possibly can. If you've just joined us, a little bit of an update. We're sitting with the Birmingham Males, or what I like to call the Birmingham Boys, and they're pretty cool. They're very, very nice. Folks, I'm just going to move down a little bit to give you some better shots and make it much more pleasurable for Brian here. He's got a couple of trees in the way of each individual, and I just want to make it a little bit nicer for him and for us. So let me just drive down a little bit. You can get that male at the back there then as well. A little bit more. Get that male at the back there then as well. A little bit more. Is that good? Okay, mate. A while back, and we couldn't identify who they were, but they were just two individuals the same age, so it was pretty likely that they were the other two out of these six. At the moment we're with four. They're about 2.5 years old, probably. And they've come on over to Juma, which is a great thing for us, and hopefully they'll have some success hunting and be here for a couple more days, because we're leading up to something pretty special. Tomorrow night we launch into a couple more days, because we're leading up to something pretty special. Tomorrow night we launch and you've got a great question, and it is definitely a question that a few people sort of ask when we see these coalitions of males, but it's definitely worth sort of clarifying. I'll give you the general consensus of what people think. When you get to a coalition like this, you'll get a male that will probably be more assertive than the others. So what I mean by that is it's not necessarily a dominant male at this point, because it doesn't have anything really to be dominant about. It's not trying to show dominancy over a pride of females. So I like to try and call it assertiveness as opposed to dominancy at this point. As soon as that situation comes, when they take over a pride, then you will start to see some very, very different behaviour displayed. There's loads and loads of research done on online that shows sometimes in some prides where there's a coalition, meaning that there's more than one male in the pride, there will be a battle. It is normally more theatrical than it'll still look quite serious, but it would be highly unlikely that the other animal would damage the other animal severely or fatally, that's for sure, because they do sort of work together in a team, but they still can, hurt each other. With those manes protecting their head and shoulders, it's normally more lots and lots of thrashing around and theatrics and carry on. And, as I said, there still can be definitely an injury in there. And then the one that backs off, obviously, is the one that's less dominant, and the other one will go and mate with that female. And just a side note, or a little footnote, there can be up to 1,500 matings from a male lion with a female to have a successful pregnancy. So, here comes this beautiful behaviour. Beautiful. Just that little bit of gentle nudging and just a repositioning. But you know what? This sort of thing... Oh, that's another animal. I do apologise. I was looking away. That's the 5th member. I do apologise. Folks, we've just got 5 lions now. I've been... it was out of my field of vision, and that male came in. So he might have been lying just over in a little spot behind there. Brian, what direction did he come in from? Just, I didn't see it. This side. Okay, I do apologise. In my field of vision, the way I'm looking, I was looking at that male sleeping, and then this animal entered in, and I thought he was one of the ones that had just gotten up, but it's another one. It's the 5 boys now, all back together, who we saw yesterday morning. Just back on your question, just to finish, I also have seen and also read there will be coalitions that some of the males don't care. They just, one will be more dominant than the other. He will mate with a female, and then he'll lie down and go to sleep or have a rest, and then the other male will get up and have a mating session as well. So there's all different things that occur, but generally speaking, one will try and be a dominant animal when they have females, as opposed to now. One will just be probably a bit more assertive and potentially be a little bit more of a leader. If one gets up and walks off, the others probably will follow. And we're seeing a little bit of stirring now. So lovely to see that little greeting there, folks. If they all wake up, you will start to see a really lovely sort of wrestle where they just all fall on each other. So we're sitting just off a road we call Zoe's Road, and I've driven down here numerous times, hundreds of times actually in the last month, with Liam, with Brian, with Jason, and also with Pete, which has been fantastic. But this is about probably 200 metres off the road, and you would never see these guys if you were just driving past. So really, really important that we have that network of friends and other guides on the ground helping everyone to have these beautiful encounters. Folks, I'm just going to reposition just to give us another angle. See how we get on. Just to try and get us a little bit closer. have it behind me there, mate. How's that? I could probably go a little bit further for you, mate. Folks, I'm just going to cross to Pete. I think it's a perfect time. We're just sitting here on the cusp of a bit of emergence from these guys, and Pete's going to go down and see. Pete's going to go and see a fantastic little creature, and maybe the mum as well. I'm going to keep you in suspense there. We'll see you real soon.
Guys, awesome those lions. I'm just as curious. I've been thinking about it the whole time, so I'm really glad you enjoyed it. Great to know another male has joined as well, and very interesting because those males are sort of in those stages where they're going to start pushing the noses into other males' territory. So literally in the next few days or weeks or months, certainly there'll be some interaction with these lions and the other dominant males in the area. So it's an interesting story, not just for seeing them today, but also over the next while. As you know, it's quite windy, as you can hear, as you can see, and we're just up on a high point, not very far actually from where the lions are. Just sort of stop and give you a bit of a view towards the sort of southeast and east, just to give you an idea of what it looks like. So we're just up here on a high point, not very far from where HT is sitting with those lions. And since they're not too active at the moment, we thought we'll just give you a bit of a view of the general area that's looking almost straight east at the moment. You've got those beautiful big thunderclouds building. Beautiful in two respects, a little bit in a selfish way for WildEarth at the moment. It doesn't look like it's going to rain on us today. So it's a good sign for us in terms of the weather. And just a general view of the sort of surrounding horizon, if you want. We are heading towards the hyena den, so we're going to look there as well. And if those cats move, if those lions do anything other than sleep, you'll be back in the vehicle with HT in a flash. But for now, just to look around a little bit, stretch your legs, so to speak, before we get back to those lions and see what they get up to for tonight. I was saying just now that it's very exciting to think, or interesting, or different words you can use, I guess, to describe it. But over the next few months, these Birmingham males will be moving more and more into this area. They're at that age now, sort of 3.5, 4 years older. I haven't actually seen these lions, so look forward to seeing them in some stage, where they are getting dominant or starting to want to be dominant. They're getting old enough. They're 5 males, so that really is a strong coalition. And they sort of starting to push a little bit. The Matimba males within Ngoma Pride, the different males in the area. So at some stage or another, there's likely to be some confrontation. The Sabi Sands over the last 6-7 years have had some incredible dramas, for lack of a better word, with male coalitions. The Mapocho males 5-6 years ago, I can never say that name, the Majingilanis, and now these guys. It's not all that often that you have coalitions of males, 4 or more lions. So 4, 5, 6 males, it's a very strong coalition and can have massive impact and massive implication on the local lion population, both females and other males. So that'll certainly be a story to watch, not only for today, but over the next month or two. Maybe over the next few days, who knows? At some stage that confrontation could happen. But from the lions to the lion's eternal enemy, as brilliantly dubbed many years ago in one of the most amazing documentaries of big wildlife, hyenas. Although I don't see one at the moment. Let's go have a look. This is the den at the moment. They've got about 4 dens in the general area. And if we don't see them here for the next day or so, we will probably go look at the other ones again, because they do sometimes change between the dens. But let's just stop for a minute, because it might be that the adults aren't here and the youngster is just inside the den. And hyenas, like lots of young animals, can be quite curious. So let's just have a look. It's the right area for it. Hyenas are very interesting animals in that, well, many respects. on a physical level as well, lots of interesting things. But very, very close-knit family structure. You've got females being the dominant of the two sexes. So even the lowest ranking female will outrank the highest ranking male. And they've got one youngster here at the moment, about 4 or 5 months old. We've dubbed Ndapandula, which means to be grateful. And we're very grateful when we found this den again, because it disappeared for about 2 weeks. And from the behavior, I'm pretty sure that she's a female. You can only really tell the difference between male and female once they mature, 2 years old, something like that. And even then it's quite difficult because of certain physiological or physical aspects, which we'll discuss when we can see them, because at the moment we're just talking about that, which is the den. And I was hoping that around there would be a little head popping out by now, but it seems either no one's home, or if they are home, they're sleeping in. It is quite windy, as we've said. You can hear it, you can see it, and maybe the hyena thinks that for now they're gonna stay down there. Just have a look at the other side. This den used to be very active. They have been here, I can see their tracks, so they've been here actually even this afternoon. So maybe the young one is just sleeping inside the den, maybe the adults have gone exploring, looking for food perhaps. And this den used to have 2 entrances. In fact, the main entrance used to be on this side, on the eastern side. But I looked at it the other day, yeah, it still is the same. They haven't opened it up. You can see it's been overgrown a little bit. Grasses have started growing on the inside of it. We don't have a back door at the moment, only one entrance. Oh, sorry. See that little fish. We're going to move along again. I'll sort of see where the road takes us. You can see we are starting to get that beautiful sunset colors. We should have a decent sunset. We've got some very high level cloud. Luckily nothing that looks like imminent rain for us. We're going through a little dip here. Let's have a little look. Found this place yesterday or the day before, just down here where there's a bit of water. So I just want to have a quick look. Hyenas love water. I mean, it's hot like it's been today. They will often go and lie down in the water with their bellies or sides, whatever, but typically on their bellies, and that cools them down a little bit. So let's just see if perhaps they're doing that at the moment. There's this little seep line. Doesn't look like it when you look at it from this angle, but in the bush there's often places that will have water. You just know where to look. love these little vehicles we've got. I've said it many times, I'll say it many times again, WildEarth has given us the best vehicles for this in the world. Literally. Oh wow, it's dried up. Looks like, let's just have a look. There's a very deep dip in front. Here to the left, 2 days ago there was still water. You can see it's very muddy still. Just down in front of us there's a little bit, I just jumped in there. Basically there's a few ridges of rock underneath here, and because the donga is sort of eroded open, you get these little puddles damming up, but for the moment just mud and a little bit of water down there, but just enough for birds to drink from really. Alright Liam, I'm just going to swing back on the left if you just check for me there. Coming?
Yes.
Alright. Okay, so no hyenas for the moment. Well, left the hyena den, no hyenas there at the moment. I just saw a couple of, more than a couple, quite a few couple of very interesting animals, especially considering where HT is sitting with those lions, which is somewhere just back there, and these guys are heading this way, so let's leave it at that for the moment, and to keep an eye on what's happening with this. But we have a breeding herd of buffalo. Looks like a sort of, for this area, a smallish herd, maybe at first estimate 50, 80 animals. Let's have a look at them. Love this, always love buffalo. You can call them the cattle of Africa, or the cattle of the savannah. Except for the attitudes, they are much tougher and much more, I don't know what the right term is for it. Don't mess with a buffalo lightly, put it that way. Very, very tough animals. And the only thing that preys on buffalo are lions, of which we have 5 at the moment, not so far from here, 4 or 5, I think it was 5 message I got. That one broke its horn, the young one. Right, so this is a mixture of, that's a young bull we're looking at. You can see the boss is not as heavily developed yet, but in the process of developing. The one grazing in the foreground is a young female, about 4 years old maybe. Now, not to preempt anything too much, but this kind of weather, this windy conditions, which we don't get a lot in the Lowveld, funny enough. The Lowveld, the area that we're in, typically gets a lot of heat like we did today, but the wind is not something that's that common. And wind is a great aid for hunters. It hides or masks your sound. It's gusty wind like this can help with your scent also being sort of all over the place. And it can even hide you physically, because all the bushes, everything's moving. If there's no wind, just look at that, and you can see the movement all around us. That's one of the taller trees, but all the bush, the lower brush, the grass, everything is moving. So you all know what it's like. Peripheral vision, what you see out of the edges of your eyes, that picks up movement first, and it's a very, very important key aspect of prey species, like for instance buffalo, to be able to pick up movement, because that is how they would pick up lions or something coming in. So the three things most important to them: hearing is masked by the wind, so in the benefit of the predator. Eyesight, again, benefit of the predator, because all this movement, there's lots of things moving around them. And even smell is a benefit for the predator. So this kind of conditions, more than a couple of big male lions that way, little herd of buffalo this way. You never know what could happen tonight. Let's see which way the wind blows. Now that's interesting. These guys are settling down. You can see there, sorry my head's in the way, but maybe exactly because of this, because of the wind. It is getting dark, the sun is busy setting behind us. Maybe these guys have decided this is where they're going to stay tonight. Quite often buffalo herds like this prefer to be sleeping in slightly more open areas, which is, I would have expected them to go on another 200 yards or so, because it opens up a bit. The only thing now would be whether those lions are at all aware of this. I don't know exactly where HT is. I just got it from the rangers earlier on the radio, but he should be about not more than 400, 500, 600 yards at the most from here. I know that they are still lying flat at the moment, so they don't know of these buffalo, or at least don't have any plans yet. Maybe these guys are just taking a little rest. So yeah, I think we're going to stick with these guys a bit, see what they do. The other area I wanted to check is just this way, Quarantine, hoping for some leopard. We had a bit of a feeling of leopard there this morning, but I know that Craig, one of the guides from one of the eastern lodges, he's busy having sundowners there, which is a great time for listening. So for the next 20 minutes or so, we've got ears in that area, so if anything's around, impalas, alarm calling, anything like that, Craig will let us know. HT is sitting with the lions who are sleeping at the moment, so we can stick with these guys. It's all happening just around here. Good that you're here. Still a little bit of grazing going on, and I'm thinking that they'll probably go up towards that open area that we just came through. It's just a better place for them to sleep, and unbeknownst to them, it is also about halfway closer to the lions again. So this could become interesting. We were talking about it earlier today, just driving while you were with Hayden on the lions, VM and myself on the vehicle here, just talking about, well, at least in my experience with guiding and with guests, often people have this perception that predators, lions, leopard and so forth, they just have this really easy life. They just have to decide, what do I want to eat tonight? You know, sort of check on the menu and then go for it. And it's not the case at all. Firstly, you have to find the animals. Secondly, you have to get close to them. Keep in mind, these animals have all evolved over a long period of time
to be perfectly suited to their environment. So things like buffalo, kudu, impala, giraffe, they all have all their senses honed to perfection as well. Great hearing, great eyesight, great smell, fast, can kick, can fight. So there's a fine balance between predator and prey, and neither really has it easy. And that's good to remember. It's good to remember that it is not just simple and easy. Oh, here's a game vehicle joining us. Didn't see them there. It's good to remember that the predators have to play their role in hunting, and the prey will play their role in avoiding the predators, but if need be, fighting them as well. And I've seen on many occasions buffalo holding their own easily against lions. Just see the whole time, just look at all the movement around them, the leaves and the twigs and the branches all moving the whole time, and that will often leave herd animals like this, or well, herbivores in general, but leave them a little bit, not nervous, nervous is the wrong word, I don't think animals really get nervous, but it'll leave them a little bit unsettled. They know that this is potentially weather that things can sort of go wrong quite quickly, kind of thing. So you do find that they sort of move around, settle down, move around, never really quite as relaxed as you would have found on a windless evening at this time. I'm just going to move a little bit. As we were saying a little bit earlier, it's important to realize or to remember or to consider that predator and prey have got a very fine balance in the relationship. And so often you can just think that lions just walk around and sort of pick what they want to eat, and that's really not the case. These buffalo, at the same time, obviously have all the things to avoid predators if they can. Here's the herd, a little bit of that last bit of grey sky in the background. Good eyesight, good hearing, great smell, can run away, but not only to avoid predators, they also have the ability to fight back. And I've seen on many occasions, in fact, if I think back to all the attempted all the attempted hunts I've seen, lions and buffalo, I've seen a few that were successful, and that's no joke to see lions and buffalo tangling on that level. But more often than that, I've seen buffalo actually chase lions off, where they successfully get them away from the herd. Even breeding herds like this, where they've got young ones, you can see in amongst them there, every now and again you'll see a young one popping through, and those would more often be the easier ones to go for lions. But one must realize that for a 200 kilogram lion, 220 kilogram if it's a big male, to tangle with an 800 kilogram buffalo that's got heavy hooves, very strong legs, sharp horns, massive strong shoulders and neck, there's a lot of danger in it as well. So it's done. There is a fine balance and equilibrium, and even balance is probably the best word, between predators and prey. That's a great question, Heather. It is something that happens very often, and I've seen it happen on many occasions. And Heather was just asking, will the adults protect the youngsters? Let me just go a little bit. Actually, this is not bad since we are looking at a youngster. This one is about a year old. This is a calf from last year. And Heather, yes, they will, to within what's possible, obviously. Now, let's look at it from the buffalo point of view first. Yes, the youngsters and even injured ones and so on, they will try and keep in the middle of the herd. Sorry, it's very windy. And have the adults around the perimeter of the herd, and typically the big bulls around the edge of the herd. I've seen, I must tell you some stories sometime, maybe around the fire, about buffalo hunts. But it is amazing how the buffalo work together as a team, as a unit, to protect those that they can. The buffalo haven't started calving yet. They will start very, very soon. Again, with buffalo, you do find them having young ones sort of a little bit throughout the year. If you look at, I see there's one youngster walking behind here, which is probably only about 6 months old. But the majority, that one there, that would have been born slightly out of the normal routine, if you want. Most of the buffalo calves will be born starting about now, but here towards end of December, January, you'll see a lot of young buffalo, and that time then they do get preyed on quite heavily by lions. But to get back to your question, Heather, so yes, the adults will get those youngsters into the middle of the group. The big mature, especially bulls, will try and chase the lions off when they can. So that's from the buffalo point of view. From the lion's point of view, you find pride that hunt buffalo. It's a bit of a speciality. In other words, there's not just any lion that wakes up one morning and decides, oh, I'm going to hunt a buffalo today. I know of lion prides that almost never hunt buffalo, even if there are buffalo around. And then you get prides that hunt almost exclusively buffalo. For instance, the Nkuhumas in this area, they hunt, since we've been here for 3 weeks now, all the kills that I've heard of on the radio, we've seen one of them, but the other ones, when I talk to the guides on the radio, have all been buffalo. So they hunt primarily, almost exclusively buffalo. So they also have a few tricks up their sleeve. So if the buffalo get their youngsters into the middle of the herd, you've got 2 or 3 or 4 or 5 lions. Normally you've got at least 3 or 4 lions to hunt mature buffalo. They will harass the buffalo from different parts. So they will run in on the one side, and then from the other side the other one will come running in, and one will be upwind and one will be waiting downwind, and they will just generally create this sort of confusion, chaos, havoc. Use any of those words that describe what goes on when you've got 80 buffalo like this, or 200, 300, 400 buffalo like some of the herds I've seen here, and 5, 6 lions all trying to create confusion and chaos. It is confusion and chaos at a very spectacular level, and in that they can find opportunity to get hold of a young one. Even then, Heather, you will find that mature buffalo will come in. Again, I've seen it happen. Young buffalo or injured buffalo with the lions with the lions on them. You will get big buffalo coming, running in there, charging the lions, chasing them off, and getting those ones free again. So it can happen, has happened, it will happen again. But then again, the lions will keep trying. They'll avoid that injury, so they'll avoid confrontation with a big buffalo. But then if they've got 1 buffalo or 2 buffalo that they've already injured to an extent, they will just keep doing that, keep creating chaos, keep creating unbalance, if you want, within the herd, try and break the lines, and in that process get to it again. So it's a very intricate dance, if you want, between the buffalo and the lion. Very intricate and very, very dangerous, and very spectacular as well. It's truly a spectacle to see when those two giants of Africa clash. Quite interesting, these buffalo have decided to move in a slightly different direction. No specific reason why, not that I can think of. We'll just see what they do. This is one of the older cows in the herd, the one looking at us. And she would certainly be one of the buffalo in this herd with experience. You find a few of them that act as pathfinders, or ones that sort of lead them to water, lead them to grazing areas. And she could possibly be one of those. I wonder what these buffalo are up to. It's twice now already that they look like they're going to settle down, and then they get up and move a little bit again. So I guess we don't know what they're up to. We'll just watch. We'll see what they're up to. Well, we're going to move a little bit again. Just sort of stay off to the side of this herd. Just have a quick look. The sun is pretty much set. We didn't have as much color as I thought we would have tonight, but always beautiful to see the, what shall we call it? The early pastels of evening arriving. Or the watercolors of the day that's gone behind. Something like that. Always nice to see. Let's follow these buff. Okay, well, we're going to move a little bit just to, a bit of a hole there. We're going to move a little bit to get a look at the buffalo from the other side. I think you should go have a look and see what those cats are up to, and join HD on the other vehicle. So enjoy it. We'll see you back in a bit.
Well, we're still here, and they're still a little bit static, and just let me turn this game drive channel down. They're starting to stir. They're definitely starting to stir, and we're getting a little bit more sort of movement in them. Pete has been talking to you a little bit about, you know, how lions hunt and what they do, etc. I know for a fact that we could see them pick up the scent of anything at this time. They're starting to get a little bit restless. So let's just sit for a little bit longer. Definitely have been a little bit of movement. One animal got up and moved over to the other two, and so on. So we'll just sit for a little bit and see if we get some stirring. I'd really love you to see this social interaction that occurs when they all wake up. I am going to have to drive my vehicle a little bit closer if these two males go up to that one that just turned over. But if it goes the other way round, we're in a fine position where we are. If the boys that the camera is on right now walk back this way towards us, it'll happen right next to us. If not, I might just have to go forward a little bit, and there could be a little bit of, you know, scratching noise on the vehicle. So the situation what we have here is we've got the 5 males still flat, but there has been a little bit of movement. They've gotten up and moved around a little bit. There's a potential, as I said before, keep you holding on, that they could get up at any time, and they probably will. There's a little bit more restlessness in them. Pete has now gone looking for a leopard, which is always fantastic for us to have on the agenda, and it is pretty much on the agenda every night and every morning. But he's going to do his best, of course. He's an amazing guy with leopard, and really will try and pick something up. We're just going to sit for a little bit longer. I really want you to see this this social sort of greeting, and when they wake up out of a sleep, how they greet each other. They're getting much more restless now, and there's a little bit of sort of social interaction with them, particularly even though it might not look like it at the moment. They have been sort of rolling around on each other a little bit. Now when it does all kick off, there's a beautiful sort of 5 boys. They just all sort of pile into each other and give each other a bit of a sort of hi, how you going, and then they'll probably walk off into the dusk light. Now if that does occur, depending on which way they walk, will depend on whether we follow them for a little bit. If they walk on directly in front of us, the vegetation is so thick I wouldn't even attempt to go through there. We would lose them in 50 metres, 150 feet. So, but if they walk behind us, then the ground is a lot more open, and we could probably pick them up on a road or something like that. So we'll just see what happens, and it's definitely worth waiting for. These are the situations, folks, that when you are out on safari, if you've got the time, which we have, you sit and you wait and you watch, and that way they dictate the situation. As we all know, lions spend a considerable amount of the time in the day doing this, but there can be any exception to the rule. Any exception to the rule, and that's what we always wait for. So the light is definitely dropping. We can still see them. We've got our camera picking up the last available light. Sort of in the next sort of 5 minutes, I'll probably just put this wash light over them. It's a very, very soft light, and it's not really in their eyes, and we might just do that shortly. We'll just see what happens. If they do get up, I'll definitely put that wash light over them, just so we get a better picture for you, and it's not as dark as it is. But just at the minute, we can still use the little bit of available light that we've got. These cameras are incredible with using that available light, and we'll see how we go. Really, this wind is picking up, folks. And it does come across on the microphones a little bit, so apologies about that, but this is real.
Nope.
No, we can't brighten it, so I think what I might do is just put this white wash light over here and see if we can get a better picture for you folks. So just bear with me. A little bit of creaking. It's a very, very soft light. It's not a spotlight in their eyes. It's a wash light that we have on both sides of the vehicle, specifically designed for this, and it just allows you to sort of get a better picture in this last sort of 15 minutes of light. Now we might get these boys coming over to the others. If we just stay where we are, we have to play our cards right here. It's always tricky. We don't know who's going to stand up first and walk over to who. So there's another vehicle here with us, folks, with some guests on it, and they're just... Okay, I'm just going to move forward, guys. Just bear with me for a second. Have a look over on the right here, Brian. There you go, you've got these two here. I'll just move in a little bit closer. We're really stuck here on space, folks, so just apologies about this. I just want you to see this. Plonk themselves down, and it's a little bit tricky for us here. They're all just we'll just stay right where we are and see if we can potentially see this happening. They're all just gone off and they're coming back. It's a little bit tricky where we are at the moment. Let me just roll back a little bit. What I'm just trying to position you for at the moment is just to see these boys just greet each other. They did a little bit of it, but not as much as we've seen before, and they should all come back and hopefully do a little bit of a grooming session, because one individual's left here, unless he gets up and just walks off, which he possibly may do. And if the other boys have gone, it's not always that grooming session, but most of the time they do something. Always do that yawning and then a little bit of grooming. So nice big yawn there. He's about sort of 5 to 10 metres away from us. I think they are on the move, so we might just see if we can pick them up here behind us. You're going to hear a little bit of scratching and scraping, guys. The other side. I go back there. Right. Watch this hole, bro. Yeah, absolutely. Okay, bro, I'm gonna have to go over that. Yeah, hold on tight, mate. A little bit tricky for us here, folks. A little bit tricky for us folks to get in there. I've just moved into this really thick area, and I'm going to try. So folks, what I've had to do is really just make a maneuver here to try and potentially see where they are. And it sounds pretty awful, but at the same time we really can get into loads of different places with this vehicle. I can see one of them just up here ahead, and I'm just going to try and get a little bit closer for you. Okay, let's just cross to Pete and see what Pete's up to whilst we're sitting in this lovely position here. It's a lovely silhouette just through there, and we're going to come back and see these guys. So let's just cross to Pete and see what he's up to.
Well, from the big predators to the smaller predators, but I know one that people often are very aware of when they're in the bush. You get many different types of scorpions. In fact, Scott, who will be on Drive With tomorrow morning, knows a lot about scorpions. He's even written an article for one of the scorpion books, but he can tell you lots more about them. But this is one of your burrowing scorpions. Lots we can talk about them, but look at the heavy pincers, small tail. So these guys use their pincers to hunt their food, and the tail just to sort of finish off the hunt and to defend themselves. But just something small that we spotted. Oh, he's looking something in a hole there. Maybe a little. What's he doing? Sorry, I was just going to say goodnight, but he's hunting. Look at the tail sneaking around there as well. That's very interesting. What has he got there? Let's see if he pulls something out. Let's just have a quick look. No, nothing. No, I thought maybe he's going to come out with a spider or something. So from the scorpion, we're just going to say goodnight from myself, Pieter Pretorius, and from VM behind the camera. It's been a lovely afternoon. Great to have big cats in the area. I'm hoping those lions will stick around. Maybe even something happens at night, who knows, and we can follow up tomorrow morning. So looking forward to tomorrow. It's going to be a lovely day. And as always, thank you for being with WildEarth, and thank you for being in Africa. It's a special place close to all of our hearts. That's it. Enjoy it on the vehicle with the cats, and HG will say goodnight to you. Bye-bye.
Folks, we just followed them into the bush a little bit more, but how beautiful does that look? Really beautiful. They're off. They're going to go and move into, there's one right in front of us here, mate, as well. Just walked through right in front of us. Sorry, I keep telling Brian this stuff, but it's all happening in the dark right in front of us. He's just moving off there. Another individual just moving through the bush, and they're really on the move now. They're going into this very, very thick country, and you know what? I think it's just getting a little bit hectic in there for us with 5 minutes to go. We can move in a little bit farther, I think, and we might just pull the pin on it a little bit. Let's just see how we go, and it's not for want of trying, that's for sure. It's just the country is a little tedious in the dark. We're all going to just have a try here and see how we get on. I think some of the guys are going to head off because it's just a little bit full on, but we'll see. Okay. Just okay, so let me just get ourselves into position to see if I can get one last sort of shot of these guys, and if not, we'll be totally happy with what we've got. think, you know what, folks, I think you make these executive decisions sometimes, and we just say to ourselves, that was good. That was good enough. I think I don't really want to tempt fate. I don't really want to go in there with and get a puncture now for us with like a couple of seconds or minutes to go. I'd rather say goodbye to you nicely. We know that they've gone off into that beautiful bush to potentially hunt, but that happens a lot. A lot of the time you're with the lion and then they walk off. We're very, very lucky when we do see a lion kill or a successful hunt close to the road or that we have access to. We'll definitely keep our eyes on those guys, and that's the most important thing to know, is that we know that they're on Juma, we know that they're here, we know their location, we know where we left them last night. We'll try and pick up the tracks of them coming across one of these roads in the morning, and who knows, they might make a kill tonight. These sort of weather conditions do favour predators, because a lot of the animals, particularly the herbivores, they struggle in this to hear lines and smell, and there's lots of swirling scent going around, so it's very, very, very difficult for a lot of the herbivores to hear, see, or smell what's going on. So it can work to some of the predators' favour, and they've definitely got a great advantage with their sense of sight at night. As we know, cats can do really great things in the dark with their sense of vision. So, fingers crossed, we might see them tomorrow. I'm hoping. I'm just trying to sort of, we like to put out all the energy we can, and look what I've got here, folks. The lucky porcupine quill. And this has brought us so much luck. Brian and I, in the last few days, this is going to stick with us every drive, guys. And I'll make sure I've got it front and center. You'll see it sort of poking out of here. Whoops, I've just dropped it. I will find it. Let me just not lose it now after I've just dropped it down there. Where did it go? Where did it go? The lucky porcupine quill. There it is. Okay, I've got it. It's going to stick with us. And yeah, we'll see what we can find. They may take a buffalo tonight. Top of the venue for line, absolutely 100%. And there is buffalo in the vicinity. It was very close to us when Pete was talking to you. It was about 500 metres away, but they walked the other direction. So, most important thing is that you were with us this afternoon. You were on Safari Live. You did it. You saw it. It was a little bit static today. It was a little bit we just sat there for a while, but you have to do that sometimes. And when you're in the presence of 5 magnificent young male lions that could get up at any minute, it's worth sticking around. I just think it's beautiful to sit there with them, and I'm sure you did too. Ultimately, we're up in the morning and we're really going to have a great day. Take care, guys. See you tomorrow. Thanks from all of us.